The Self Made Billionaire Effect. How can you make a lot of money, create the next big business, and just have everlasting change in the world that we live in today? And I am back on my 2 book a month kind of reading quota. I'm reading a lot now. You see the books in the back. I have some books by my bed over there, and I'm stepping up my reading game to about a half hour to an hour every morning. I've experimented. People ask, should you read it at night? Bill Gates, obviously the richest man in the world, said he reads about a half hour to an hour at night. Other people like to read it the first thing when you wake up. And, just like everything in life, everything is a kind of experiment. Test it out, see what works for you. And what I've realized is, number one, I don't have trouble going to sleep. Like, I have a friend of mine, and she is like a self-proclaimed doctor. She's always going on these websites diagnosing herself. And, she has like insomnia. She has trouble going to, I don't even know if insomnia is having trouble going to sleep or throwing up, whatever. I don't know. But she basically has trouble going to sleep at night. And I don't have that problem. So I go right to bed. So I've tried to, hold the reading off to the nighttime and reading a half hour before I go to bed. But it doesn't work for me. I end up not doing it at all. Either A, I end up working over the time I'm supposed to go to bed, so the last thing I want to do is stay up another half hour, and B, it just doesn't work. So what I do is I wake up around 3 or 4 in the morning, depending on the amount of sleep I got that night, and I go to the gym. First thing I do is go to the gym, because the gym, I love working out, but there's nothing worse than I hate than a crowded gym. So I work out in the morning, and then as soon as I come back home, I read. So the first two things I do every day is work out and read. But I digress. So, The Self-Made Billionaire Effect. This is a great book. This is a book I've been meaning to read for a long time. I remember my old job, this was a book that was quoted a lot by my old boss. I remember there was one time he was talking sternly to somebody else, and they were just a little confused because he said one thing, so they followed it to a T. And one thing that he said that I always will remember is that, the one thing, he was like, you should read the Self-Made Billionaire Effect, because the one thing that they say in the book is that the most successful people are confusing, right? They're able to hold two extreme thoughts or two separate thoughts in their mind, and it makes sense. So I want to kind of just give a little book review, give you some quotes and some things that I found interesting in this book. You could take it and run with it, do what you want. But I'll just give you some highlights of the book, interesting, and then comment below if you want me to do some more of these. I got about 200 books in the back of me. I'll be running through them. So if you want more book reviews like this, just comment below, say, yes, Andrew, we want it. Give me some books that you want me to kind of review, and I'll give you my spin on it. I'll give you kind of just what I thought was interesting and how you could practically apply that to your life and just some takeaways. So one of the first quotes and one of the first things this book said is that more than 75% of self-made billionaires were raised in households with affluent levels of the middle class or above. And I found this very interesting because I was born in Staten Island, New York. I was raised in the Arlington Projects, and I love rap music. I love me some rap music. Now, my favorite artist is Drake, so you could debate whether I like rap or do I like, I'm not even going to give you ammo. But either way, right, I grew up listening to Eminem, T.I., Lil Wayne, Drake, A Boogie is somebody I'm very fond of right now. And a conversation I always have, either when I'm at the barbershop or with my friends, is that, I'm happy that I was raised in the projects, right? I was able to, from the projects, go to University of Oregon, from the University of Oregon, go to a couple other schools, end up in Beverly Hills, right? And I was like, if I never lived in the projects, I don't think I would have had the work ethic or just the drive that I had to never go back. Because I remember I had one, my ex-girlfriend, she used to always ask me why I work so hard or what drives me. Because I had a relationship with her for like 3.5 years, 4 years, and it was always long distance because I was either at college or I was either, in LA, or I was never really home. And, we used to always have these conversations, what drives me? And I was just always say, hey, I was born in the projects, and that's somewhere I never want to go back, right? I know what's in store for me if I don't work hard, if I don't push myself. And when I read that the statistic that 75% of self-made billionaires are actually from the middle class or above, it made me think like, okay, I'm probably one of very few people. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's probably true, because a lot of friends I grew up with, they got sucked up into the gang lifestyle, the drug lifestyle, and just not having the knowledge of how to get out of that situation. And it's hard. Like, I was, speaking to somebody I work with now, and he was like, "Why do you think you're different?" And I had to think about it. I was just like, when I grew up, I always had the internet. So even though I'm in the projects, and obviously, my parents are great people, but at the end of the day, I always say, hey, at the end of the day, if I follow my parents, and again, no disrespect to them, obviously they gave me life and I'm very grateful, but at the end of the day, their decisions put me in a position to be raised in the hood. So if I follow them, then I'll probably get the same results. So I always said that I had YouTube, I had the internet, so whatever I wanted to know, I always just went online and figured it out, or went to the library or something. So I was never really a victim, even though I was living in the projects and things like that. I was never really a victim of that situation, because I had libraries, I had the internet. So even though I didn't have the resources in my environment, I went outside and I got them, whether it was the internet or the library. And I guess, reading the statistic, it reminds me of two things. That number one, not everybody's like me. Not everybody's going to sit. I mean, I've been home I left LA about 2 months ago. And for 2 months, I've been teaching myself everything about Google Analytics. I've been teaching myself everything about SEO, SEM, Facebook advertising. And I'm going to start, I'm joining the Chambers of Commerce next week. I'm going to start selling my services as a digital marketer. And not everybody's going to sit at a computer for 2 months and teach themselves. It's like, as much as I like to think I'm normal, but I guess it's not. And, there's a conversation that always goes around about whether you should work hard or work smart, right? And I think this statistic about having 75% of self-made billionaires are from affluent levels, it really gives credence that you should work smart. Now, of course, you have to work hard, and I'm the number one, product of hard work. But at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't know where you're working towards, or you don't have the tools, you can work hard all day long, right? We could work 9 to 5s, 9 to 9s, construction, but you're never going to be a self-made billionaire unless you have that mindset, or unless you have the tools that people in these upper class households are teaching their children, right? They're teaching them things. That's the only reason, that's the only plausible reason that you could back up that statistic, is that these people from affluent households know something that people like us don't, right? So you do need to work hard. Work smart. You do need to take courses. You do need to read. You do need to stay on top of the things that's going on. Because if you just blindlessly work hard, it's going to be tough. And that statistic kind of proves it to you. So what do you do if you're not from an affluent household, right? And I think we spoke on this a little bit. I wasn't from an affluent household, so what do you do? Do you just stay do you just go on the computer and study? And half of the answer is yes. But on page 13, they said, many self-made billionaires reach extreme success only after many years of professional investment and commitment to a particular market or space. And this reminds me of what Charlie Munger said, Warren Buffett's famous business partner. He said, "It's not a shame if other people get rich. I stick to my circle of competence and I stay in that circle." So what this quote basically says about that many self-made billionaires reach extreme success only after many years of professional investment and commitment to a particular market or space is that it's important that you know what you want to do and stick to that space, right? I have a great friend of mine, Gabriella, beautiful, beautiful woman. Smart, everything that you would want. And she also, her mind races 1,000 miles per hour because she's so talented, right? She's, good looking, so she does modeling. She's smart, so she's in, committees, and she's going for a master's, but then she's also ambitious, so she has a job, and she does all these different things, and we talk all the time, and, she says, "Andrew, I just don't know what I should do. I feel like I could do a lot of things. I feel like I'm talented in a lot of things, but it's hard for me to kind of distill on one because I want to do it all. And if you want to be a self-made billionaire, and again, you know, there's no guarantee that you will be, that I will be, that any of us watching this will be. But I think if you learn from the top and you take what the top people are doing and you apply it to yourself, then you have a greater probability of being a millionaire or, you know, making 6 figures a year or something like that. So what these self-made billionaires do is they just focus on one thing, and it's going to be hard. I remember when I dropped out of college that I also had that same mindset that Gabby did, that I'm talented, right? I could do a lot of things. I could handle a lot of things. You know, in school, I did this, I did that. I could do a lot of things. Right? I played football. I held a higher grade. I made dean's list, and I volunteered. So when I go into the real world, I could just balance a lot of these things. But that's not true, because a lot of these self-made billionaires focused on one thing and one thing only. Because you have to realize, I remember, I'm going to do a book review on a book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. He said a lot of people hedge their bets. They want to do one thing, but then they take jobs in others. And what he was basically saying is that a lot of people, let's say you want to be the next Sam Walton. Let's say you're in retail, and although retail is doing quite bad these days, let's say you want to build a big retail business. Well, he says a lot of people hedge their bets, so they're at studying Spanish or you know, doing history. Like, if you want to be successful, you have to commit to one thing, right? Don't hedge your bets, because there is billions of people in this world, and everybody's competing with you, right? So who's going to have a greater chance of success? The person that focuses on one thing 7 days a week, or the person that focuses on one thing 3 days out of the week, 4 days out of the week, a second thing 2 days out of the week, and a third thing 1 day out of the week? Who's going to win? Right? It has nothing to do with whether you're smart or whether you have the ability. But at the end of the day, this goes back to the conversation of hard work versus smart work. Once you're working smart, then you know the tools that's going to get you to that success. But then now you have to put in the hours, right? So if 2 people know the same tools, the person that's hedging their bets is going to lose. So you really have to focus on one thing. Now, how do you do that? One piece of advice that I gave, that I personally did myself, was when I dropped out, I wrote a list of everything that I want to do, and I just went on Craigslist. I got jobs in all these different things. I remember I dropped out, I had like 3 different jobs on things I wanted to test. And after a while, if you do it right, if you say, okay, I'm coming out of college, right? Because those are the people I mostly speak to in these videos, people that are in college, just got out of college, high school, things like that. If you're getting out of high school and you don't want to go to college because you don't want to pay the debt, I went to the University of Oregon, and it's like $49,000 a semester, or a year rather. If you say, hey, I'm coming out of high school, I got this list of things that I want to do, but I don't want to go to college. So guess what? Let's say your list is 5, 7, even 8 things. Do them all for a month to 2 months. In a year and a half, you'll know exactly what you want to do. Now, is it worth it? Is it worth sacrificing a year and a half so you can know what you want to do for the rest of your life? I think it is, especially if you're not going to go into college. And even if you are going to college, would you rather know what you want to do in a year and a half, or would you rather bullshit for the next 10, 20, 30 years and be like, oh man, I really didn't want to do this, right? So test, do things. I was watching a Casey Neistat and Gary Vaynerchuk video years ago, and I think it was Casey Neistat who said that, or maybe it was somebody else, I'm not sure, but he was just like how he took a job until he hated it, right? And then once he hated it, he knew, okay, I'm not doing this, right? So if you're at a point in your life where you just have buzz brain, you know, bird brain, whatever you want to call it, just do. This is when you need to work hard to eliminate that list. Work hard, find out what you like, what you don't like, cross things off. And if you do, and the cool thing about this, it doesn't even have to be a year and a half, because maybe on the third thing, like, this is it. And just go all in on that. So that leads to another question, right? And something that you shouldn't get bogged down in, because I run a digital marketing agency, as I mentioned, and I'm helping a lot of local businesses, right? And I just had a meeting with one business in my area. I won't say the name, but they're a plumbing business. They've been in business for about 58 years. And the thing I don't want you to get caught up in is, okay, I experimented with a lot of things. I crossed things off my list. I want to do this one thing, and then 40 years later, you're just status quo, right? A lot of these plumbing businesses, kitchen remodeling businesses, whatever industry you could think of, flowers, whatever. A lot of these businesses are start local and remain local. So how can you beat that? And this book says having a blockbuster idea requires real immersion in a subject, right? Focus, deep focus in one subject, real willingness to come up with many ideas, and the ability to suspend judgment of ideas that may seem odd. And they take chances and potentially fail, right? So a lot of these local businesses, they have real immersion in one subject, right? Because if you're a plumbing business for the last 53 years, you can tell me everything about my sink. But it's those last two things where they get wrong. A real willingness to come up with many ideas, and the ability to suspend judgment of ideas that may seem odd or out there, and they take chance and potentially fail, right? So even though you can tell me a lot about kitchens or plumbing or my pipes, what chances have you taken, right? What ideas have you come up with? And one of the coolest stories out of this book is something that's really revolutionized my way of thinking. And for you guys out there, definitely you girls are gonna know about this. For you guys, if you ever taken yoga or if you ever dated women, you know that Lululemon was like a huge brand of leggings and just kind of apparel that focused on women primarily. And the guy who created Lululemon was a genius in this sense. First, he started off with a surfing company, and he realized, okay, surfing is getting bigger, right? So instead of me trying to sell surfboards, which everybody was doing, I presume, let me create surfing apparel, because if this trend is getting bigger, let me create the apparel for these surfers, because everybody's going to be doing it. Instead of me competing with surfboards, which everybody's doing, let me create clothing so I could ride this wave, right? And he made a lot of money. And then he did the same thing with yoga. Yoga is growing. So instead of me creating a local yoga studio, let me create an apparel brand that all these yogis can wear. And another person did this with iPhone accessories, right? iPhone versus Mac. I mean, not iPhone versus PC or Android rather. And he was like, okay, instead of making a competitor to an iPhone, because Apple will kill me in advertising budget and things like that, let me create iPhone accessories, so as this iPhone wave goes above, well, all these people with iPhones are going to need the case, right? And the last story of the person who did this, I'm trying to remember, we had the Lululemon, we had the iPhone accessories, and the last thing that I, just from a digital marketing standpoint, am starting to realize is that, okay, there's something called funnels, right? And obviously a funnel if you want to learn about funnels, we'll talk about that. But a lot of people do these Facebook ads and they try to get people into the funnel, click funnels, lead pages, Infusionsoft, things like that. But if you look at the biggest companies, instead of trying to create funnels and running Facebook ads, what these big software companies like Lead Pages and ClickFunnels and Infusionsoft do is say, okay, you advertisers, you go create the funnels, right? We was doing this back in 2011, 2012, and everybody's creating funnels now. So let me create the software that everybody will use, right? So how you beat being status quo is you got to realize, okay, all right, I have real immersion in one subject, right? I eliminated what I wanted to do early on in my life. I experimented, I crossed off the list, I got one thing. And then I do that for a long amount of time. Now, I have big ideas, right? Okay, I'm doing things differently. I'm not doing the same thing that other people are doing. And then I have ideas that might fail, right? So if a new advertising platform comes out, I'm trying it. You know, when Google AdWords, and that's how you advertise on Google, came out in I think like early 2000s, a lot of people didn't do it. Well, if you want to be successful, if you have real immersion on one subject, how you don't becoming the plumber company who's been here for 60 years, but it's just like every other plumbing company in this area, is you take risks, you take chances, you think big. So let's go on to the next quote. And something I realized that was really cool that I realized from the book is that as an entrepreneur, there's always this back and forth between whether you should go to school, not go to school, whether you should work a side job or not work a side job, whether you should just go straight in and you're not an entrepreneur unless you're just, you know, run your own business. And if you have a job on the side, well, then you're not a real entrepreneur, which I think is complete bullshit. And this book kind of validates it, right? Because number one, let's say you're young like me, you don't have no revenue. Well, obviously you need a side job to fund your business unless you sell ahead of it or you get raised capital, which is not likely for a lot of people, just based off skill and your amount of network, right? If you don't know the people, well, then it's hard, and if you're not really a good salesperson, well, then that's another thing. But on the other hand, not only is it not realistic for a lot of businesses to just be entrepreneurs, but it goes back to the topic of immersion, right? So let me read you something. These individuals are particularly valuable given the overwhelming tendencies of billionaire producers to find and pursue new opportunities in fields where they already have extensive experience. So a lot of these billionaires in this book had jobs for like 5 to 10 years before they started their first business. These billionaires had so much experience that they even got jobs, right? So if you're watching this video and you have a job, all is not lost. Don't listen to the hype about how if you're an entrepreneur, you have to go out and do it now. No, what you really need to do is get immersion in one topic and then create ideas and test. That is the secret to becoming a millionaire, successful entrepreneur. Having one thing that you're focusing on and getting really deep in that one thing. And even if that means taking the job, right? So like for me, if I know I want to be one of the best digital marketers or just marketers of all time, right? That's an ambition I have for myself. Holistically, right? We can get into specifics later. So for me, if I take a job at a marketing agency, that makes sense because now I'm getting deep into what I want to do, right? And then eventually, okay, when something new comes out and I can test, okay, I'm getting this deep domain expertise, and that's what you call it, deep domain expertise in this one subject, which is for me is digital marketing. Now, if you want to be what's a cool niche, right? What's something that you want to do? If you want to sell fucking bikes, right? If you want to be, have this cool bike thing, if you go to a fucking bike store, learn everything there is about bikes, or if you want to be sell these self-driving cars, go work out mechanic. That is not bad because you're getting deep domain expertise in one thing. Now, on the back end of it is you have to test new ideas on your deep domain expertise. Like there was this one guy who started Morningstar. I think it was like it basically takes all the stocks and mutual funds scores. You know, if you ever go to like one of those channels that have all the things at the bottom about stock price went up, the stock prices went down. He created a business about basically taking all the mutual fund pricing and stocks and putting it all in one place for you to check it. But before he did that, he knew he wanted to do that because he experimented. Then he said, okay, well, I'm not ready to do it yet, so let me get a job at a place, a firm that does this, so I can get experience on their dollar, so I could create that product, right? So once you figure out what you want to do, it's not bad to get a job. Don't fall for the hype about, I have to do this and that. It's just simply not true. And I have a lot. This video is getting pretty long. I'm at like 23 minutes or something like that, 24 minutes. So the last thing I kind of want to leave you off with, and then if you want reviews like this, if you want me to kind of put it in a PDF document for you, click the link below. It should take you to a squeeze page. Put your email in there, and I'll send you the PDF file of all the notes for this book so you can study it, and then I'll send you PDFs of all the other books going forward. And it'll be specifically just for book reviews. I won't send you any other stuff. Just so I know whether or not to keep doing this. Because you could comment below, Andrew, yeah, keep doing it. But if I actually have a list of people who are ready and on standby for my book reviews, well, then that speaks a little bit more volume. So click the link below. It'll take you to a website page. Enter your email, and then I'll send you a list of all the notes that I took and that you need to know so you can build a great business and become a self-made billionaire, millionaire, or just make a lot more money, because these principles in this book are amazing. It's something that they don't teach, and it's crazy because one thing I'm starting to realize about running a business is that a lot of people don't really care about the technical knowledge, right? Obviously, you need to know your stuff. Obviously, you need to know how to deliver. But a lot of people, for example, I'm running an agency, so in client work, a lot of people just want to be talked to and just know that you care. A lot of people know about the intangible stuff. I mean, a lot of people care about the intangible stuff. They don't necessarily care about, okay, I'm doing SEO. How the fuck am I doing white hat, black hat? How am I getting my links? What's the processes? Am I using Excel? What's my, canned response I'm sending to these blogs so I get free? Like, people don't care about that shit. People care about, do you care about them and can you speak to them? They care about the intangible things, your character, things like that. So it's a shame that in school they teach us a lot of technical stuff, but not necessarily stuff that gets people engaged with you as a person. I remember my last job that I went to. This is something I always talk to my friend Shannon about. I was like, yo, I went to this job working at one of the best, digital marketers in the world. And he took a liking to me and had nothing to do with my fucking skill. I didn't know shit. Right, I went there as a dropout. I didn't know shit about anything. And, they liked me a lot, and it's because of my personality. It's because if you know principles about success and you know how to talk to people and what to look for and what to do, you could always learn the technical shit, right? You could go on Udemy right now and learn fucking almost anything you want. But once you know the actual foundations and pillars of success, well, then you'll be in for a good life. So click the link below. It'll take you to a website. Enter your email. I'll send you the rest of this stuff later. That way it's not a 40-minute video. And comment what you thought most interesting about this book. If you were to pick this book, right? If I convinced you that this book was so good, my video of 28 minutes was so good that I have to go get this book right now, what was the one thing that I said in this video that made you want to go get that book, made you want to read it? What's the one thing that resonated with you the most in this video? Leave that below. I love to hear from you. Also, I have a Facebook group that I'm putting together just for everything marketing, right? It's good. We're going to call it the group the Master Manipulators, because in marketing, we have to manipulate. We have to, not necessarily lie. I'm not saying lie, but we have to, if your girlfriend says, does my butt look good in these jeans? You know what I'm saying? You gotta say yes. So that's what we do in marketing. Click the link below. Join the Facebook group. Add yourself to the email list, and also comment below what resonated most with you in this video. I'm gonna do more of these. I'm also gonna do vlogging because I got some clients. It's gonna get real popping. I got I always say this, but it's gonna get popping now, bro. Like this video if you believe me. Speak to you soon.